Hello, everyone, and happy to be here. And thanks to be online, following us. And today, my name is Omid, and you know me, a bit. in, and today we are gonna have a look at CloudEvents and a standard that got its stamp from Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And we're all excited about that, but actually, let's delve into this aspect. And now, what it provides, what are the design goals, and how this specification, this standard can help. So, my name is Amit. I'm an AWS community builder, a solution architect at Groupe La Centrale, a car market platform providing some services to individuals and professionals to simplify their journey of selling a car, buying a car, or estimating kind of stuff. And the QR code that you see on my screen is a collection of referral links to some part of CloudEvents specification that I found interesting, and as well the link to the GitHub repository of this talk. I divided the agenda in four parts. So EDA challenges, and that's where I will argue. I'm gonna argue this distributed system and event-driven architecture. And next, CloudEvents specification. We will delve in a bit into this standard. And the third part, we will focus on CloudEvents and look at how we can apply CloudEvents and different approach of design on AWS ecosystem, basically serverless. And at the end, let's have fun. Now, a demonstration, simple demonstration, and let's have some fun. So the next slide about the QR code. So actually, event-driven architecture challenges. When we talk about distributed system, actually, a traditional distributed system, we often move to distributed system, and we hope this design will resolve all problems, actually. And we imagine something smoothly and well aligned. So the boxes in line. This is communicating perfectly. But actually, in real life, never things keeps going as you hope, as you wish. So after a while of adaptation at the enterprise level, we found the trick and the problems. But actually, it's so hard. It's too late. And what is the solution? We identify the problems. We look at technical solutions, technical patterns, and we apply something like event-driven design. So we add anywhere some brokers, and it's fine to me. But actually, we forget about the overall enterprise health. So this is a long journey. And it's important looking at the problem it solves, but as well the complexity, the challenges that it brings over traditional distributed systems. So this distributed systems are hard, we are angry all about, but event-driven architecture by nature is distributed. And when I remember when I was dealing with monolithics, I didn't have the problem actually, because that depends the culture of the enterprise, if you suffer from a monolithic system or no. But actually, we suffered, the root cause of the suffering was the localized, that the complexity was localized in a single place. And we suffered for the software complexity. We suffered from the availability of systems. We suffered from a scalability perspective. But actually, the communication for software and people was simpler. The decision-making was as fast as possible. We moved to distributed system, and we imagined that these are the solution to our problems. But actually, we forget that we lose the advantage of the pros of monolithic system communication. So we could communicate, we could make decision. It was simple. But actually, I insist again, that depends on culture and the teams that are collaborating. For me, always was simple. But actually, EDA is a distributed system and a distributed communication pattern. that applied in communication boundaries in the distributed system. So I tried to resolve with EDA some problem of distributed system, but actually the coupling is not the solution to all the problem in the world. Actually, EDA adds some challenges and complexity, but reversing the dependency direction. And the problem is that your degradation, your failures will be identified at the subsequent layers after your producer service and not before. And in distributed system, traditionally, everything was connected. The system will fail, the HTTP call will fail, and all the systems, all the layers of the communication will be alerted. An ideal event-driven design is like something like this. So everything is going well, the line and boxes are well aligned, and on the paper, it's so pretty, so nice. But actually, when the new requirements arrive, we add the lines, we add the boxes, sometimes we are at the risk to introduce circular dependencies. And this is actually what I insist that in standard defining context, being cell-based architecture, being capability mapping, being domain mapping. I don't care about the name, the terms, but actually we need to contextualize the overall system, introduce some standards over communication boundaries to help us simplify our system at a later time. So defining context or doing the context mapping, understanding what's happening in the system, how to scope different parts can be achievable, but with a lot of effort and time. If you already had a long journey in the event-driven or distributed design. The next part that is important to me is consumption difficulties. So the producer always need to care about the consumption. When we are introducing the event 1, version 1, event 2, version 2, everything is smoothie and all consumers are receiving our event. But actually, everything is not simple as today. And when we have a new requirement, we need to decide, can I change the version 1 or can I introduce a new version? Actually, does it change that I will apply to the version 1 will break the consumer logic, or introducing a new version will introduce a duplicated reception? This is all we need to care about. But actually, the producer alone is not able to take a decision as fast as possible. So we need to communicate with the other teams, the consumer, the software owners, the product owners. And this when you grow, this becomes frustrating and mostly is not achievable. And subscription difficulties. When I talk about subscription difficulties, I talk about the consumer side. So the consumer to respect something, to avoid having breaking change or the failures or degradation at a later time, they need to understand what the producer are producing. So they need to some kind of knowing what are the available version. They need to discover the type of version. And with the lack of a standard, providing discovery and catalog of events is hard, because we can without the catalog, without a standard, we just provide a lot of documentation that we struggle understanding them, and they have no benefit for the subscription level. We need to understand all the domain details that must be at the producer side, at all the consumer side. And the last, I want to abstract all these challenges and say evolution difficulties. We need to know active versions and outdated versions. We need to simplify communication between producer and consumer. We need to engage them. we need to engage the compatibility when we introduce new changes in the system. But actually, without any standard, we just apply in, a factory of complexity to be able to handle all those domain-based complexity as a in a central core. Root cause detection at the consumer level is important. We need to provide enough metadata that the consumer behind a failure, behind a problem, can decide where it's coming, the problem. But actually, we need to put a part of or event envelope, some reference to some catalog, some documentation. And at the end, we are all agree about double validation. But actually, without the standard, it's not possible. I cannot propagate my business complexity into 50 or 100 consumers, logically. So it's too hard. So the takeaway of this slide is that I want to accelerate my change rate. I want to contractualize and define the promises. I want to engage that communication, add engagement into the communication boundaries. And to have that, I need to be able to provide a catalog, a lexic, a catalog that provides lexic documentation and a representation of our contract. To better govern all this that I'm talking about is to how I can govern an enterprise that is relied on event-driven architecture. Cataloging and discovery is important. Introducing a standard event envelope at your enterprise level is important. Operational observability. I want to say you need always to observe your overall process behavior. And at the end, you must automate everything. So you need a standard. Without that, you cannot apply all of this at enough fast and enough rapid. So let's jump on CloudEvents. CloudEvents, part of name indicates event, but we were talking about messaging. We're all agree about that. So, and what is a message? A message is a command event or a collection of changes or related events or stream records, I want to say. But actually, what is important that this kind of messages can be routed over any kind of channel, any kind of protocol, and that's where we need to define and look at CloudEvents. When I ask anyone between my colleagues and all my friends that have experience around event-driven architecture and eventing, I hear, what is an event? I hear the nice phrases, the nice short abstract phrases. It's a fact, okay? It's nice for a book, but actually, what is it? And CloudEvent is interesting. I love this definition of an event in CloudEvent specification. A data record expressing an occurrence and context, and attaching the occurrence and the context, the metadata, as part of the record is really interesting to me. And at the next phrase, they explain events are routed from an event producer to interested consumer. But actually, what is interesting is the verb. We're not sending, we are routing. The routing means we are transiting something over a bunch of network hoops. So we have the different layers before we can have the different layers that before reaching that the event reach to the consumer. So if you don't have a standard, you need to propagate in millions of places or hundreds of places your business complexity. Actually, I'm working in some project that actually we are in the same situation and we try to resolve that. We have a customized standard per team, per software, and we cannot now, we struggle to change things. And the routing, the next phrase talk about the routing can be performed based on information in the event. we can simplify the subscription level. I don't want that the subscriber looks at my data for just subscribing, just filtering. So provide enough metadata based on your that represent some the occurrence of your behind the processing in your system to the consumers, to the subscribers, that helps them decide and route better, simpler your events. And the end part is really the final, representing all that we talk about. Event data representing occurrence, and contextual metadata providing contextual information about that the occurrence. So I'm just trying to say that context and occurrence are related. You cannot separate them in different places, or strictly separated. This is not possible. You suffer at a later time. When I talk a lot about standards, but someone always someone ask me, what do you want to say? So the simplest way to explain something is to drawing, to putting something on the screen. So this is my envelope. This is my envelope that follow me for sometimes. Now I represent everywhere. So I have an envelope. I have a tracking ID. I have a sender, destination, international stamp, and a date and a confidential stamp. Actually, if I look inside my envelope, I can find something. I can find my name. I can find maybe the name of the sender. I can maybe find the the confidentiality, the level of confidentiality, and the date. Maybe there is a signature here inside that is signed with the date. But actually, there is no sense to propagate or expose your internal state externally because just the post office need to transit your data from somewhere to another place. So provide enough metadata externally at the root level of your event envelope, to help the consumer filter, decide and do action at early stage before going in entering in their business logic. Now I want to map my stamps and my envelope to the CloudEvents. A confidential represent data content type. Follow-up tracking identifier is an ID. International letter, it's a type, and the date is a date time. Now, and Omid is subject to this letter, and sender is the source. So CloudEvent and eventing, as eventing applies to the natural world, the real world. So we can say CloudEvent in a specification that you can apply when you write a message to your wife and you put it on the table. Just respect. And CloudEvent represents some required attributes that these are really small. ID, source type, and a spec version representing the version of CloudEvent specification that you're using. But actually, there are some other interesting elements that are not, they're optional, but I use them highly. But what is important about CloudEvent specification, this is channel and protocol agnostic. This relies on extensibility. So it is a standard, but for extra needs and extra requirements, CloudEvent applies the other existing standards, and it set the extension or the recommendation on top of the other existing standard. We're not reinventing the wheel. And at the end, the CloudEvent specification try to make your life safer at communication boundaries. And now, if I want to jump into the different S specification part, one of the most important that I looked at the first time that I knew about CloudEvents was binding. So I was looking for the protocols, and finally I got that. My takeaway was that this spec is protocol agnostic. So they define some recommendations, some details about AMQP, HTTP, WebSocket, MQTT, and all this stuff, this kind of protocol. So we keep going protocol agnostic. And they talk about adapters. The CloudEvent specification assume that any event-driven design applies over an infrastructure. So we have brokers. We use AWS brokers, other providers, S3, SNS, SQS, EventBridge. But what they're saying to apply is that you need to do adaptation transformation at your infrastructure boundaries. So you cannot propagate your infrastructure details into core of your software. And if you did some kind of hexagonal architecture or DDD and like this, you mastered it. But apply it when around your event standardization journey as well. Extensions. There are a bunch of extensions. I don't want to deep dive in all of this stuff, but they're interesting that the existing extensions are a solution to the actual problematics. So data reference, claim pattern, distributed tracing context, expiry time. I love this because I say always, if you create a product, this event that you send has no validity after one day or 2 days or 3 days or 1 month. I don't know. That's depends on your business. So expiry time is TTL over your propagated event. You produce something, you say till when you can consider it. And partitioning as well is another pattern to obtain higher availability, higher availability. Sequence, talk about ordering and etc. What is important about a specification around CloudEvent specification when they talk about extension is that they don't apply a JSON object at your root level. You rely on primary data types. So why they are talking they are insisting they apply these, it's because they know that they are protocol agnostic. So that extension details can cross the HTTP headers when you receive the comments or you distribute something over HTTP. So to be protocol agnostic, channel agnostic, you need to follow this specification in the extension part as well. And this specification don't talk about SDKs. This is a standard, but actually there are a bunch of SDKs that you can use thanks to community and Rust, C# and JavaScript, etc. Now let's have a look at CloudEvents on AWS. Okay, let's have a look at CloudEvents and look how we can apply CloudEvents on AWS ecosystem. Actually, the typical design that we have all, and we started with when I heard about AWS and I started my journey on AWS. This was something like this. A producer, an SNS, to broadcast changes and some lambda behind that, and SQS as a subscriber. But this is important that now, if you want to apply a standard, you need to understand that your lambda sent an event that represents a standard envelope. We don't care about we try to not care about SNS envelope, SNS record, but actually the consumers need to transform at early stage that SNS envelope and retrieve the standard envelope from the message or body, whatever it is. Here I use for SQS the raw message delivery to avoid to ask SNS don't repeat, and at lambda level I just fetch it, parse it, just take care of my standard event envelope. If you apply EventBridge at root level, you can do some kind of I use CDK. So at infrastructure as code level, I just transformed it. What is important in my standardization journey? The only thing that I need to know about infrastructure envelope is where my standard event is settled So event bridge detail, SNS message, SQS body. The only thing that I want to document for my teams that respect it. This is my pattern. This is our pattern. This is our journey of standardization. And at the end, I'm transiting a command with a direct integration to the SQS. That actually I put the request body and I inject it at the infrastructure, at the SQS request transformation level to the data inside my envelope, and I inject all the headers as the root attribute to my standard envelope. And at the end, what I'm interested is that sending a simple event, an order, introduce me from the basket till the notification that I sent to my user that I shipped your journey is well documented. I can observe it. I can see the active version. I can know who is producing how many versions of order place exist, and how many consumers are already consuming that. I can observe, I can better govern. I think it's nice to say we need to dominate in our enterprise and not just work and work. I'm not a hard worker. I hate working hard. So I try to simplify my life and the other people in my company. It's a demo time. It's the hardest part for me. If you have any question, let's talk. Anyone?
You want questions now? You want to do it before the demo? Can we do it after the demo? So I'm gonna have questions when I see it.
If this is just some single questions, let's go now. If no, we can try it at the end. Whatever you want. Let's go at the end. I got you. I got you. I'm a casual, but you want to structure that. Go. So demo time. Alan, I struggle when sharing my screen with Zoom. So I think I need to stop it, and I will reshare it. Okay. Do you see my screen? Sorry, I used this.
Yep.
If you're not fan of this code, okay. Sorry for that. And now, actually, the example is really simple. So I simulated an order system that take from the basket that is not in this diagram a simple HTTP request that we will send on the wire. So receiving an order, introducing some order placed event to the product system, also shipment system. They let them to check the availability at product system side, and the shipping system will start preparing the package. At the end, when the product system confirms the availability or unavailability of the product to the order system distribute another event giving order confirmed or order canceled. At the end, the only system here in this diagram that listen to order confirm is shipping system that listen it and ship the final package and send a notification behind the shipment shipped now to the notification system to send a notification to the user or to the consumer. Actually, this example is a full mocking example. Now, there is no email sent, and just to represent the communication. So I will try to have a look and try to deploy it. I don't remember if I already deployed that, but I will try to do that. Oh, sorry. problem. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go. And what is deploying? Let me talk a bit about the idea. The idea is simple. I already represented this example in the previous slide. I will send an HTTP request representing an envelope, a simple JSON object over the wire. It's some metadata in the headers. And actually, I have a standard and shared event model that represent a TypeScript object. Is really simple. Sorry, it's not in raw. So Ben, please. Sorry, excuse me. And this represents an interface representing some interesting elements on my side. So as I explained, I just added an idempotency key that is generated. Is a UID version 5 that is a combination of data and a hash to help the consumer apply idempotency on the side. And causation ID actually is not far from correlation ID, maybe you know, but causation ID represents something like the correlation ID, but this time it is the important business entity ID. So it is for me order ID because I'm just following the orders. So the causation ID on my example keep going for with order ID inside the data payload. I apply a data version separately and text JSON and Z that helped me recently to understand this because previously I had another way of doing versioning in event and the sequence that actually just for guarantee ordering, you know, when you get a batch of record from an infrastructure like SNS or SQS, actually SQS, so I can make decisions and treat them in order. And here you can see that idempotency key, how this is applied. And ID is not an ID, and sequence actually is ULIT. And actually, I have a problem because I understood that ULIT is not working with ESM, and when I apply, I used to bundle my lambdas, my function using ESM and node module. No, it's not working. So my rapid solution was just applying the CommonJS to bypass this to finalize this demo project. Oh. And the other thing that I want to share that I see highly in distributed system when we are applying, we are generating some kind of DTO or proxies to communicate with other system. Actually, in event-driven design, I see a lot because actually the events are mostly small. Often they're small. If we compare to traditional request response approach that we had our HTTP request, but the teams are just coding the TypeScript or Node.js or C# or Java interfaces or records in their code on their own, you know, by hand. But actually, there's no sense. We need a way to sharing it. So, because I didn't have to prepare an event catalog and contract catalog for this demo, I just shared the envelope between the different between consumers and producers by some, you know, modularized contracts that I provide to export the consumers and notification service, product service, share the order, for example, kind of this stuff. So this is important that we need to centralize and do some cataloging that helps our consumers generate the types and the proxies from the something like async API. As in traditionally, I use OpenAPI and Swagger, and now I rely on async API to generate some TypeScript data transfer objects, so representing my event models. So I know I use async API Modelina for this approach, and it's worked for me, and I am happy with it. And the next thing that I want to talk about is my helper. I just, for the sake of this this demo, I just apply a central helper to simplify my life and accelerate my development phase for about 2 or 3 hours. So here I just, for any event, any single event, I'm relied on not the, for example, I didn't apply the batching. So I try to single the first in the record, and I consume the single events at unique events at the time. Just I look at the event source, I apply some parsing from body, and I care about the internal state of body that is actually is an event envelope that I apply CloudEvents on top of that. For event bridge, I look at the presence of detail type, and if I find in my event aspect version, so I see that it's already for event that it's passed to my Lambda, so I detect that and I use that. This is not so complexity in this approach, and as we had a look at, we had some kind of transformation at. And now, what is important here that actually I didn't apply by my own. I forgot to do that. You need to apply as well some versioning, and now the versioning simplify your life. So notification service is today listening to any version by the title of shipped. So we will struggle later if we introduce another event. So I already had this application. I saw that my system is working, but I have a lot of errors and at Lambda level and consumer side, and was struggling. And at the end, we found that we're not listening to the specific version, and we had 2 versions, one representing actual DynamoDB data model. So the consumer was looking at an event that represent DynamoDB model, and the new event, modernized model event, was a business-centric model, but everything was, half of request was in error at customer side. So to avoid that, define the version, the source, and the type, and do it carefully. And here I just detail. I don't want to say I hate, but I'm not a fan of event bridge, event envelope, and I don't like personally. I don't apply, and I'm not with the putting data and metadata object as part of event model. So I'm not a fan. I prefer to have a root level, because an event envelope has no existing, has no meaning without the context, and it doesn't work. It's not worth to separate the metadata from the root level and put it somewhere in the event detail side of data. And sorry to be late, because I didn't know that the CDK and my deployment will took a long time. Actually, we have fun. And actually, here I was trying to apply the async API, the validation, the event validation based on async API. So this is a generated schema. So from the async API aspect, I generate using the async API parser. I generate in my TypeScript code the schema of my async API schema, like code, and that helped me to use a bunch of packages that led me to validate a model, an event model against a specification, like like AGV. And so I like that it's like a bit huge in terms of package size, but it works. It works and cover my needs over for async API as well, open API, and I'm using that. I have no problem with that. It works nice, and actually I love here that if we apply we have some CloudEvents provide some kind of, let me show you. The CloudEvent provide already schema JSON, and it's a schema JSON that I integrate. I don't add this validation to my second validation to my to my async API. I just refer this part of validation as an inheritance to the async API schema. So all these are important from the async API specification, and it's not mine. And some metadata are added by a async API parser, but actually in the validation side, they don't cause problem because you can exclude all the X star and to avoid any failures at runtime. It's not too hard. So I just, to not forget, I provided me something here. Just I need to find my API gateway link and put it. I don't know if you see my postman. No. So
just your VS Code.
Yeah. So it can be tricky, but let's go. Let me change it. I will stop sharing and resharing. Actually, wow. Here's my postman. So here is simple. I have a bunch of metadata at the header level. So it was a test, and you can remove that. But actually, causation ID is a random generated ID. For this example, I had nothing in the website. I didn't had the time, but actually I present some metadata that are important as part of my event envelope, and I provide some simple data at body level. So I had a trick to make it simpler to follow the demonstration, that was applying some log in CloudWatch to simplify observing what the consumer are receiving and creating them and observing what's happening in the system. Actually, what I like about a standardization approach is accelerate your decision making. I'm not a fan of playing with code and applying things without a result. So what is interesting, I want to be able to take a decision in 30 minutes, without struggling for weeks and weeks to discover what's happening in my system. So I hope it's working, and let me do some. I don't know. Where is it? So I tried to connect my AWS console and I needed OTP. And I try to share my screen again. What I'm afraid about is the demonstration effect, live effects. I'm so afraid of that always. So I just select it before sharing, simplify the live, and wow. Oh, yeah, I got it. And let's prefer the request and share it. Let's go for that. Let me share and see if something is happening on my side. Can't find my. Yeah, it's here. You know what you're seeing on my screen? Actually, I want to go to my console. Yeah, it's okay. Actually, I just trying to apply this request representing exactly what you saw on my screen earlier. But actually, I have a problem, but I cannot see them, and I ensure that the request is okay. I selected a bunch of lambda. What are them? Okay, and it must work. It's not coming. See if something happened at our place stack. Sometimes I feel a lag between Insight and the CloudWatch, but actually I don't know. It's just a delay, or yeah, it's a delay. Yeah, because it's presented here. My log, I see nothing here yet. Oh no, but there's a problem. Let's go 30-minute local zone. Something is strange. Oh yeah, I have enough data here to, okay. I'm out of luck, I think.
Try removing that filter. It might not be parsing type out.
Ah, the filter? Okay. But actually, I tried it, and the screen that I shared was exactly with this request. No, actually, I think there is a problem here. There's a problem here. But actually, yeah, you're right. It's not parsing something. But why? It's parsing nothing. Well, really strange. I don't know what's happening here. today. Okay. I think that there is a delay of propagation because I see that no other functions are giving me the result. So let's go see baseline if it give me something. Okay. It's really go for some. Oh, actually, there's a problem. Because with baseline is a lag when you create the new services, and it's okay, but after that it works nicely. But in the meanwhile, we have a problem. So don't worry about that. Just actually, what I try to do that I logged here to represent the exact. Maybe I can bring that image on my screen and put it part of.
So while we wait for the delay for insights, this is probably a good opportunity for people to start asking questions because we're about near the end of time as well.
Yeah. Actually, I think I love the CloudWatch because it's a broker for me. In some kind of sidecar, when I need I have some use cases that I accept delays. Okay, I accept for observability kind of this type. I accept highly the CloudWatch, but the propagation of events are we face. Sometimes I have the delay, and that's depend use case. So I really actually on enterprise level, I'm not using the logs like this. So I have two systems listening to. I have two systems listening to the events. The first is the data platform because we are applying a data product approach and it's already in place. So every team produce events to the data platform, and I use external extensions to propagate telemetry data as well, and I put some event metadata that are logged as part of. So this is simple for us to do that, but actually I repeat that it's exactly that depend the difficulties that how internally you work in your enterprise. What is your culture? How do you prefer to go? Actually, when I arrived in new companies since 6 months, I found that everything is working, and they had a standard, but I struggle to rename and translate these attribute keys to understand what they mean. And when I looked at something into the dashboard, I didn't understand. I wasn't able to understand, for example, the content type or source type. What does it mean? Because in any system, they was putting some special value, different value inside. So one time I said, okay, it's a source, and at the later time, I didn't. No, it's not a source. But actually, we got that we are preparing some standard. So we put ourselves in a standardization journey to solve all these problems. But actually, I use a data lake using Kinesis is Stream, Kinesis Analytics, and Athena, Tableau tools, like something like this kind of stuff to observe the internal state. Actually, we have a catalog of events that we apply. Actually, I try to reshare something to represent. No, let me try for the last time. I want to try my chance. No, actually, there's a problem here. There's some problem here that I'm sure that I cannot understand what's happened here. Let me show if I don't have any. let's go. Let's see. No. Actually, my product service, do you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Actually, my product service after receive the order events like this is something like this. So I used to integrate a URI toward my data schema. This is a fake URL for this demo purpose, but actually we have a catalog now. We have a link that is separated by some domain names. So we put every service we ask to put you the data schema. So this is simplify the consumer debugging purpose and kind of this. And at the end, causation ID as well. For example, I never understand to follow a notification ID. A notification ID represents something that is one-time use. It's not. It will never help me at the long term to observe my system. I try to define my principal entities as the business process inside the business process. For example, classify listings, a kind of orders X, Y, and at the end I apply this identifier as in term of parent identifier that help me in any system understand if there is some processing, it's behind what base principal entity in my system. I'm interested to know. I had an order, but actually at the end I want to know how much money in the KPI now, how much revenue I had. This is a business KPI approach, but actually you can apply something smoothie and smaller at your technical level for observing your operational aspect and kind of this stuff.
Well done. Well done. You nailed it.
Thank you, man. Okay, cool. Thanks for being here, and it was a pleasure.